Hello and welcome to our Tuesday supporter live stream. I'm sorry, I was just at the tail end of
Wake up.
yeah. I was editing our show for this Saturday, which I just now finished, which is miraculous because I've never finished one this quickly before. So let's bring everybody on. We got
Hey, Ann.
we got Judy
And Judy.
Hey. Oh, and we got who else do we got here? We got Brimstone, Catkins. Hey,
Yeah.
thanks for being here. I know it's a Tuesday, and I know it's, well, for us, it's early, sort of, 4 in the afternoon. So how are you both?
Good.
And Ann, it's you made it in here. That's terrific.
On some very rickety equipment. We'll see how long it lasts.
The
Looks
rickety,
good to me.
it looks very well. So what's new? I see you have a poster behind you, Judy.
Yes, I didn't. I forgot to tell you last.
Hey, Jill.
They did it. They did a good job.
Look,
It's very
you
nice.
have it.
Terrific.
Yes, it's
That's
very nice.
thrilling.
It's in my hallway upstairs.
Upstairs. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm running out of room on my walls for things, but I found a spot for it. I love it.
Well, don't do it the way we did it.
What did you do? Oh, the flood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I'll try not to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Without, so, and we got Jill in here. Hey, Jill.
Yeah. There's Jill and Catkins
Yeah.
and Brimstone.
And so, Ann, what's been going on with you?
Recently, we had our 36th annual UFO conference here in Eureka Springs.
Hang on, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay, I was just saying we just wrapped up our 36th annual UFO conference here in Eureka Springs, Arkansas this past weekend, Sunday. So I'm just sort of buzzing with all the different sorts of ideas and things. But I must say that I find that the depth of information that you have on your show here seems to be much, much greater than what I ever get in any one of those conferences. They always seem to kind of skim along the surface somehow.
Yeah, well, for me, it's a place to get your heart broken a lot of times. This is a tough subject for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For all of us. This show I'm doing for Saturday it's been one of the hardest ones I've ever done. And the last few shows have all been me because I can't get anybody to come forward now and go on camera. And it's real hard to sit there and look at yourself talking like a crazy person, but you don't come off crazy, but I just don't know how to put it into words. I think you all realize what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we do have a new client of Vavon's who's flying out here to be on camera. She's new. She's going to tell her story. And then I talked to John today, and I've got to get his name right. I always
John Blitch.
Blitch. Yes, wait, because he just texted me again. Just now. He's an amazing human being. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him or not, but
No.
well, he had a very high up security clearance, and he was involved in the military, and had some amazing experiences. One which he told here at our support group that was really a jaw dropper. Oh boy, I'm doing well. And so he gave me a yes today. He will go in front of our camera. So, and plus he's helping us out. He's helping the channel, and he's very involved with whistleblowers coming forward and all kinds of other stuff. I don't know how much I can talk about, on the air. He didn't say one way or the other, but we will have him on at some time too. So, anyways, working on a book, and So there's a lot going on. There's the silence.
I'm just afraid I've talked so much that people are going to get bored with me.
No, no, never,
I
never,
want to
Judy.
hear what Anne has to say.
Yes.
Ike,
Well, ask a question and I'll do my best.
um,
Well, what has been your involvement
No.
in the subject, Anne?
Um, I think it's quite a long-term involvement, but I do not understand the full scope of all of it yet. It's still quite mysterious to me. We had a UFO flap in my hometown when I was growing up, and for several nights, the police and all of the local people were up on the top of a mountain looking at all these lights in the sky, and um, there were reports of people landing. My closest friend's sister saw a being looking in her bedroom window, who was just a couple of blocks away from me. So there was a lot of interest in that around my hometown when I was growing up. The I think the first thing that happened to me that I recall is something that I recalled in, I'll call it a dream. I don't quite know what. It seemed like a recovered memory. In this memory, I saw myself as a very small toddler sitting out on our farm under a tree. And next to me was a being dressed very macabre in the sort of a, looked like I would call it a high Victorian, all black, maybe Edwardian sort of period costume.
hmm,
And
this is
he
familiar.
he was um, I'm trying to think of how to describe him. He he was not like the beings that I see portrayed in your drawings, Steve. He was so I wouldn't know what kind of a being to call him. He did have very large black eyes and a sort of vestigial nose and mouth, very pale skin, but was mostly covered up by this sort of a costume. And as I was experiencing that, I was viewing it from my point as a toddler looking up at the being, and then at the same time viewing it like a camera from outside of myself.
Hmm.
And the being said to me, speaking inside my mind, not words, that I needed to know that in the future there was going to be a huge cataclysm, which I guess people are told this again and again and again and again. And so it was not long after, um, was it? It was not long after 9/11 that I had this recovered memory. And so the way that I processed it at that moment was it will make 9/11 look like nothing, and no one will ever even remember 9/11 compared to this catastrophe that is going to come upon us. But no further information was given to me about the nature of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the earliest thing that I have been able to recover. When I was a little child, I was terrified at night because the soldiers were marching up the hallway to come and take me away.
Wow.
And I would see things like our little town water tower landing in the side yard of the house, or I had another fragment of a memory of looking out our farmhouse window and my mother and father and twin brother being there, and a craft has landed in our barnyard, and my father is saying, well, we might as well go out and greet them, they're here.
Oh, wow. What year was this?
So those are some of the very early things, but I don't claim to know what any of it means or in what way it all works together. But those are some of the early things.
Wow.
I don't think many of us do. In the Edwardian sort of costume, I've heard other people describe that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, and even in Whitley's book, when what he calls her, the communion lady that's on the cover of the book, came, I think it was at the cabin, she came the door and knocked on it, and he opened the door. I did an illustration of that for him. And she had a wig on, and she was dressed like an old lady.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's the time that his friends saw them in a bookstore. That's in his book, where they're looking at the copies of communion, and they're dressed like people with kind of hoodies on and stuff, and no one was noticing them, which is not surprising. It isn't.
Really?
And they've been seen in various forms of human type clothing, just kind of walking down the street and nobody's paying any attention. It makes me laugh because you got to have a sense of humor about this stuff. You just have to.
Yeah.
But your story just, I don't know, it just really rings true. It just has a very genuine feel to it. It does. When that big flap happened in the town, what year was that?
I would guesstimate it was in the mid-1960s. I know that could probably be looked up. At that
It's
time we had
recorded. It's recorded in the history of the UFO phenomenon.
Well, it certainly was reported in our hometown newspaper, and I think maybe more widely, but I don't know how wide because we're talking maybe 1964-ish, mid-60s.
Mm-hmm. You've seen Close Encounters.
It was something that many people witnessed. My dad was a local official, and the police were all up there, and they were saying it's not military, no one knows what it is, and we were all just standing there gazing up at the sky and looking at these crafts.
You do remember the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, all the people up on the hill and the police were there and everything. I mean, Spielberg really was smart when he made Close Encounters. He was a young guy, but he was very smart, and he really knew the territory, and because he's very interested in UFOs. He hung out with Jacques Vallée and Jalin Hynek, and I wouldn't be at least a bit surprised that he didn't hear about that or read about it somewhere, because it's so similar. And so much of what's in the film he pulled from real events and wrote them into the script and used them to in that way. So because when you were describing it, I mean, I could just see it. A lot of it was because of the film too, because it was so well done.
I've not seen it. I've not seen the film since it was originally in the theater.
Yeah.
So
see it again. I just recently did, and I got a completely different take on it.
Yeah, it's something to see it again after all these years, and because you'll see stuff in it that you just absolutely know, and you didn't know when you saw it the first time, and it relates to real history on the subject, because he's deeply involved in it. So he doesn't tell the public that, but he is, and I know that because I know so many people that work for him, and so.
I'm not sure what you would be interested in. I can talk about things that happened more recently in my adult life, or just ask a question and I'll do my best. I've never been interviewed before.
Can I
Well,
ask
in the chat.
Can I ask her something?
Yes.
So,
Please do.
Anne,
Absolutely.
I'm intrigued that you said your father said we should go out and greet them. Was this the only
I
time?
love that.
Yeah, I mean, how how involved was he, and what was your conversation like, around this stuff when you were growing up?
He was very interested in us being up on top of the mountain to view the crafts, whatever it was that they were. So he did have an interest in it, but he never spoke about it beyond those maybe 2 or 3 nights that was occurring. He didn't speak about it at any other time. I'm sure he would have had an interest, but it wasn't really a topic of our conversation. And the snippet of what I think is a recovered memory of him saying, well, they're here, we might as well go out and greet them. I don't even truly know how to put that into a context of what level of reality that is occurring. That's why I try to be very careful in saying that I do view all of this as a mystery, and I don't have any answers
Well,
whatsoever.
I don't think
Go out
any of
and
us
greet
do.
them?
Beg your pardon?
Did he go
Say
out
again?
and greet them?
All that I had was that snippet of
Okay.
my mother, father, and brother and I are looking out the farmhouse window into our barnyard, and this tiny craft has landed in the barnyard, and he says, well, they're here, we might as well go out and greet them, and then the memory ends.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I was curious about.
Yeah.
I'm curious about
Yeah.
something. As an adult daughter, with your relationship to your father, did he ever mention anything like this when you were an adult?
No, he did not. My father had been in a prisoner of war camp for 4.5 years during the Second World War. So he had very severe PTSD
Oh.
and a great lot of mental and physical challenges.
Hmm.
So he was a difficult person. He'd been through all kinds of hell in his, and certainly I loved him and respected him, but we didn't have those sort of intimate conversations
Yeah.
about these subjects.
Yeah, staying in a stalag and being mistreated by the Germans was pretty bad. Was he a flyer, a down flyer?
He was a Marine. He was on the Bataan Death March and
So he was, yeah.
spent the World War in a death camp in Manchuria.
Wow.
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 And
But he would have,
was your mother there at the time also?
in my snippet of memory, as I call it, she was there. My family was rather strange. My mother had a very severe genetic illness called Huntington's disease.
Oh,
Oh dear.
Huntington's chorea. Yeah.
Yeah, Huntington's chorea. So
Yeah.
she also had extreme mental and physical challenges. Most of my adult life until they passed away, I was their caretaker.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. That's an awful thing. Woody Guthrie had that.
Yes, Woody Guthrie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But in terms of, okay, I'm trying to think of what might be of interest. In terms of adult experiences, I appreciate that the people on Breaking the Silence see that all of these disparate elements are all together in some sort of way. I've had experiences, shamanic, shape shifting, ghosts, visits from the dead, and I think many people have that whole package of phenomenon. The phenomenon. The If I were to fast forward, I'd go to the mid 1980s. I was living in a boarding house in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and my husband was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was working on Master's of Fine Arts degree, so I was going to school full time and teaching half time and writing a book. And one semester I taught a night class that got out at 10 p.m. And so I would hit the road about 10:30 at night and get into Tulsa maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning on these very narrow, treacherous roads that they had at the time before a more modern toll road went through. So I left one of the little towns one night, and I was instantly in the next town. And this was a year or so before Communion came out, and I'd never heard of missing time, but I had no idea what had happened during the time between the two towns and how I got to the next town. So at the time I thought, my God, did I fall asleep at the wheel but somehow still managed to stay on this road with all these trucks and treacherous road and all these driving conditions? Why didn't I wreck and kill myself? So I have never been able to recover any memories about what happened with that. Another thing that happened at about that same time frame was, and I think I alluded to this, Mary, that there was a street sweeper that would go on grids
Oh, yeah.
through our section of town. And when I heard the sound of the street sweeper and the lights coming in through the window, I felt what I could only describe as animal terror. It struck something in me that was just terrifying. I literally got in bed, covered up my head, and plugged my ears and told my husband, "You've got to let me know when that is gone."
Wow.
So those are some things, that I wonder about. Then in the next year or so, Communion came out, and I began to study in earnest these things, and then have been for all these years since then.
I think a lot of us have fears of things like the street cleaners in the night, they're flashing lights and it coming close. And for me, it's Caltrans workers when I'm driving home from someplace late at night and they're off to the side of the road with all the bright lights and their tin hats on and everything, because that I had a night where that's not who they were. And so to this day, all these years later, I still get kind of white knuckled when I see it. I don't mean to, but I think I understand, but it's still a trigger. I think that we all have that.
Do you have a trigger like that, Judy?
Yeah, I have a lot of triggers because I've had a lot of things happen. Yeah. I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about a possible connection between trauma and paranormal experiences. I had started writing a book about the link between early childhood trauma and paranormal experiences. And I found a lot of research beginning in the late 80s and early 90s that showed a causal relationship between those two things, that if you had trauma, you were more likely to have paranormal experiences. And I was curious, when you said that your father had, been a prisoner of war and everything, you probably don't know because you didn't have, the kind of relationship. That generation of people just didn't speak to their children or families the way that we do now. And I understand that. But I just wonder maybe if the trauma of war had opened him up somehow, and if he had had experiences before that or not. I know my father had experiences, and it tends to run in families, but I think there's an element of trauma too. What did you think about that?
It's something that he would have been very open to in terms of the realness of it and the possibilities of it. He would not have put it down or poo-pooed it in any way. He would have. I don't think he would have wanted us to be up there on top of the mountain if he hadn't thought it was a real thing and we needed to be there to see something real.
Anne, could you get closer to your mic somehow? Could you?
Okay, yes, I have this
little dimmer.
I have this very primitive little broken tablet, and its mic is turned up as high as I can get it.
But
Yeah.
you sound much better now that you're closer.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you clearly.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
much better.
Yeah,
yeah. You were
Thank
very
you.
muffled before. Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. One question, if I might. I certainly don't want to hog the conversation, but one question that I have is where I live here now, something that I cannot see but feel very strong presence energetically will come into my bedroom at night and stand at the foot of my bed and just stare at me like it's boring holes into me. And it's very, very unnerving when it happens. And I wonder, for any of you, how do you deal with the fear that comes with these experiences?
Well, that particular experience, years ago, I remember I was home alone. My husband was traveling, and that very thing happened. And I'm a real good one of taking those covers and pulling it up over my head and screaming and trying to talk myself out of the reality. And it's not real adult like, but it's when I become a child when that type of fear hits me.
Mm-hmm.
Judy?
Yeah, I have a different tactic. I go right to Archangel Michael whenever I feel something is dark or nefarious. If it's not of the light, it is banished from my area, from my home. I regularly sage my house. I have a strong spiritual practice. So if I were in that situation, and I have been in similar situations, I immediately go into prayer and I ask Archangel Michael to put a bubble of light around me and protect me and cast away anything that's dark. That's what I do. And it works. It works. It has worked.
I would say that I don't find whatever this presence is to be evil or nefarious. It's just looking at me in such an intense kind of way that what I do is I just lie there blank. I just become blank and say, if you wish to speak to me,
Yeah.
here I am.
You're answering Ike's question, yes.
Yeah, you can address it, certainly. But it didn't seem like it was something you wanted to address. I mean, if it's something you want to address, you certainly can.
Yeah. I just want to understand, because I do have a lot of paranormal phenomenon that is in my life, and sometimes it is. I don't think it's evil at all, but the bizarre nature of it is so extreme that it's just hard to know. I literally have maybe one friend that I could tell anything to because it sounds so insane that it's who are you going to find that you can say that these things are happening. So thank you all. Thank you so much.
We're there for you.
Thank you.
Katkin is saying something here about ignoring it, not feeding it energy, and that's a good point too. Your fear will feed it energy if that's what it's after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, emotions seem to be something that I know with the Greys, and I'm just calling that for lack of a better term, but they seem to they're fascinated with. They want to connect with. They want to feel what you're feeling. And John and I were talking about that today. And it's possible that other beings, other intelligences, have reached so far in their evolutionary travels that they have lost touch with that and are trying to, as John put it to me, they're sort of de-evolving. They have all this technology, they have this ability to transverse worlds, dimensions, or physically in a craft go from one star to another, and they've massed all this knowledge, but they're missing the most important thing of all in the universe, and that's love and emotion, and especially strong emotions. So maybe some of them feed on fear because that's an emotion. I don't know, but they are attracted to it, and it seems to suggest that they are out of touch with it. So.
When I was trying to do hypnotic regressions to try to recover things, it was just like I was looking into a cloud and I couldn't come up with anything, and I didn't want to just use my imagination. But the one piece of interesting information that I got was when I was asked, who are these beings? I said, they're the progenitors.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what that word meant at the time. I had to look it up in a dictionary.
Wow.
But recently I've heard other people also use that same word.
I think Parsi used that word in one of the
Linda
letters.
Moulton use it.
Okay.
So I don't know, is that a word that any of you have come across, the progenitors?
No, but what didn't Bob Solheim, he wrote a book called that, wasn't it? He was on our show. He was also in front of camera. I'm Robert Solheim, not Solis, Solheim, Bruce Solheim. Sorry,
Bruce. Yes, Bruce.
Yeah.
I know Dolores Cannon, who was a hypnotherapist, interviewed thousands of people, and I know that some of them used that word for them. Yeah.
Yeah, in my experience, and Whitley and I talked about this, and he has the same experience, is that they're very short on words. They usually use short expressions, like they did with me. There's still hope, don't give up. That was it. But they will project more in imagery than they do in terms of words, because after all, that's a universal language. Especially if the beings they're dealing with are psychic, and we actually are. We just don't think we are. We've been told we're not, and so we're having problems with that.
Ooh, what's that?
Offer the intruder love. Well, yeah. I mean, you try to offer everyone love, even the bad guys. Maybe it'll, as Einstein said, maybe they'll have a change of mind. I mean, they need to look at things with a different mind than they have, and maybe they'll see things differently. So offering them love might be something
It makes us feel better when we give kindness in return when someone's not so kind.
And also, I think it's been shown in paranormal circles is that love is so strong that it'll actually protect you from something that is enraged by it, that hates it, and wants only fear from you. And if you give it love, it's not what it wants. And it's like ignoring a troll on the internet. It just gives up and goes away. You hope. So what was that? Elon Musk would lose millions of
I was reading that.
dollars because his spacecraft ran on fuel. Yeah, well, that's let's face it. I think that the stories that we have had breakthroughs with anti-gravity since the 50s as a result of back engineering might be true. And certainly today they might have even a better handle on it than ever before. But the problem with it is it has to be kept secret, kept away from us, because the source of power is free. And if we all had it, these guys wouldn't be able to make any money. No one really needs to make money when you really think about it. I mean, especially with a power source like that. It could be in every home, in every vehicle, not necessarily cars anymore. You wouldn't need it. You wouldn't need cars. I mean, I'd still drive them because I think they're really cool and race. But, you know, for basic transportation and taking short, you know, having a nice day on a Sunday, go to the moon, Mars. I mean, it could all be done. It would just change everything. And I just don't think, I think that he's right, Katkins, that it would just.
I find it very interesting that Mr. Musk uses the name of his car Tesla, because Tesla and Elon Musk are so different.
You know, they're polar opposites.
I mean, yeah.
you know, Tesla, if he were alive today, he'd be in here with us. And
He's just appropriating his genius. That's what he's doing.
He does that to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they call him a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, Catkins. The TR3B was a term that was coined by Whitley Strieber.
Yep.
The Grays. And it's interesting how people ran with that, and over time they forgot that's the source of it.
It was in his novel.
It's alleged that we have craft that are anti-gravity in triangle shape. I don't dispute that, but they're not called, or maybe they named them that because of what Whitley wrote in his book, which was Whitley about that, but it's kind of funny, you know, because that happens in real life, you know. I mean, we have what is it? Skynet is real now, and that's from the Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real smart thing to do, to actually create a Skynet and be working on androids. You know, we watched something recently, Mary and I, and it was a scientist that was interviewed about AI, and it is increasing daily exponentially. And I've been witness to this because I have to use it from time to time. I don't like using it, but sometimes, you know, I need to get some images in there, and I can't spend a week creating them in 3D space because they're just basic images of a woman sitting at a desk or something. And it just in the last couple of months, it's improved so much. It's jaw-dropping. What this gentleman said, this scientist, he said is that in 3 years, by his estimate, artificial intelligence will be 3,000 times smarter than us. And that's pretty spooky, because it'll never have a soul. It might be sentient, it might be able to think for itself, but having absolutely no emotions and not being able to understand us, I mean, so much has come true in science fiction. I think we really have to be careful with that.
I don't think people know how to put the brakes on science. I don't think people know how to stop doing something that, if they just keep pushing and pushing the boundaries, they just don't know how to stop. And that's how bad things happen.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's true. I knew Gene Roddenberry, and I for a number of years, and I worked with him, and in fact, Picard talks about that in First Contact, which ironically here we are talking about machine intelligence, and that was because the Borg went back in time and tried to keep us from having warp power, and Picard tells I forget the actress's name, she's a wonderful lady, about how we stopped having an economic system and had universal income, and that everybody's provided for, and we didn't need to make money off power. And it was amazing. Gene was really a hell of a visionary. And this is a guy who flew as a B-17 pilot in World War II, bombing Germany. And you know how risky that was. It's a miracle that he survived. And he went past the 25 missions that you did. I think he went back and did more.
Wow.
So, so it comes as no surprise that he wanted to see an end to all that. So,
And here we are.
yeah, here we are, lobbing scimitars at each other still, and carrying on like fools, and missing the point.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these people ever go out and park themselves into the stars and go, "Wow, it's so beautiful." I mean, we were born out of this, and look at the life all around. And Mary and I sit outside and we watch our lizards go by every day, you know, and just all the beauty everywhere. I don't think these people have any connection with that at all. As far as they're concerned, it's like all these trees, they're messy. We need to get rid of them. They attract animals. I mean, the animals make a mess, and it's almost like there's, and I've said this before, and it's gotten me in trouble before, but it's almost like there's two different species of human beings.
I know. It's
Ones that
that.
connect with who we are and what we're part of, and the ones who don't. All they see is greed, and I got to have whatever you have, and too bad, I'm going to take it from you. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. I was I got to overhear a conversation. I was at the pharmacy and I was listening to a couple people behind the desk, behind the counter talking. And one of them was saying how upset they were that they had a pair of cardinals who kept pooping on their kitchen window. But
Oh dear.
when they
They're
told,
beautiful birds.
I know, and they're
that's their biggest problem in life.
and
huh?
it's illegal to kill them in New York
Yep.
City too. I don't know about everywhere else. But and then she said, well, she told her neighbor, and the neighbor says, we'll take care of that. And they came over and killed them.
Oh,
And they saw that
Oh.
as the solution. And it just hurt my heart to hear that they thought that was what they should do. And that's the way you treat life.
Yeah, if a tree bothers them, they cut it down.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that we're stewards, of the earth, and there is a time for forest safety. We should have, places where we clear to stop, the fires. And I mean, there are a lot of things to do. We can, it's kind of like, we're responsible for taking care of this place, and you should do things responsibly and thoughtfully, and not just clear.
If only everyone thought that way.
Yeah, a lot of people do, but not enough. And the people that are empowered don't. And I just heard a study recently that we have just in the last year or two, we have now more farmland, more cleared land in this country, in the continental United States, than we do forest. And it's the first time ever that is correct. Yeah. I'm not against farms. My grandparents were farmers.
Well, no, but
I mean, if you take
that's not a balance. We need a balance.
Balance. We're caretakers. We should see ourselves as caretakers, not just using and disposing. And it's such a disposable society. And now we have so much plastic in our water, we can't ever get it back out.
Heck, it's in our veins.
Yeah, it's in our bodies now.
Our bloodstream microplastics, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And there are alternatives to plastic, and the plastic industry has known about it for a long time, but the changeover to switch to it is it cost them a lot of money, but they have a lot of money.
It's always about money, but I guess they don't have enough. What is enough? I don't know.
That's a good question. What is enough?
How many millions do you need to rake in a year to feel like you have enough? I don't know. I certainly don't need.
It's an addiction for them. They are addicted to money. They are addicted to greed, and they
I think it's a fear too. Don't you think it's based in fear? Like they're afraid if they don't have enough, somehow they're not gonna, they're not gonna survive or something.
How much they have, they're not going to survive. Eventually, their expiration date will catch up with them. So
Well, we all die. So
Yeah. Well, even if science does extend our lives into the hundreds of years, we're still eventually going to pass. So
true.
they are in survival mode, perhaps. Oh, MX Ryan, thank you for being here.
I've heard a lot of people mention something that I know I've certainly wondered about in terms of the earth, the earth being our our home. So many people say that they want to go back to where they came from. I remember I had a accident at work one time and um, scalded my hands really severely, and I was driving myself home and the pain was really intense, and I just started saying I want to go home, like I'm just done with this earth and I really just am ready to go back home. And I've heard other people speak about that. I wondered if any of you felt anything similar about
Yes.
there's
Yeah,
some place I'm from and it's not here.
Yes.
to say it all.
Or is that just because
No,
I'm an
it's
artist
very,
and I think
very,
about
very.
things differently?
I was talking to Yvonne Smith about it yesterday. She's, oh yeah, she hears it from everyone practically. And I talk about it tomorrow night's, not tomorrow night's, Saturday's show.
I don't know if you can hear me, but my tablet has run out of its time, so I'm going to have to sign off. But
Oh,
thank
well,
you
so good to
kindly
see you,
for,
Anne.
for
Thank
letting
you.
me be on. Thank you.
Absolutely, and it worked really well.
Yes, it did.
So on Saturday's show, I will talk about this. That's as much as I'm going to say. I really don't want to say anymore because I say it there. It was great having Anne on.
Yeah.
She got in here finally.
Yeah, we need to have some other people on too next
Yeah. Come on, you guys.
one.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
want to keep saying this.
We have a few more supporters than are on right now than two people that we had. And I understand being shy, and I understand it being hard to talk about this stuff. But you're among friends, and you're among people who have these experiences. And yes, there will be people watching this. This is recorded. It's live right now, but it's recorded and it will be on YouTube forever.
But
So,
you could use just your first name like Judy does.
yeah, use your first name or use a different name. You can put a sock over your head, I guess. I mean,
Always remember there's plausible
It's good.
deniability.
put a
Yes.
Deadpool mask. That would
That's
be,
not me.
yeah.
Oh boy.
So, Judy, there's been lots of the term weird is just really doesn't work anymore. There's just been lots of stuff going on lately.
Yeah.
So,
With you or with the community?
no, with me and Mary this morning said, where was it we were yesterday when the lights were flashing? And immediately
We're at meditation.
Are you sure it was at the meditation?
That's what we discussed this morning.
Yeah, I
We
know,
were
but I'm really clear on it. And because the lights were like a light blue flash, and yeah, we were at it was a Buddhist meditation. correct?
Friendship Sangha.
Yeah, but it's
Nice.
a sec. Yeah, and so it was a 20-minute meditation, and then a walking meditation, and another meditation for 20 minutes,
And readings.
and people were amazing. They were just amazing. Just my goodness, why isn't the Earth fully populated with them? We
Yeah.
wouldn't have any of these problems with the Earth suffering the way it is, and wars and everything else just wouldn't exist. And yeah, but that's where I picked. But there's been other stuff, and I knew this morning when I woke up that I had been through something again, and I've had marks and all that kind of stuff. But it's just you just know it. You just know the difference. When you wake up from sleeping heavy, having a lot of dreams, you feel one way, but when you wake up from this, from an intervention, whatever you want to call it, with them, it's hard. It's harder than that. So
Yeah, I had a very realistic dream a couple nights ago, and I was with him. It was I was sitting beside
I
a
talked about
body of water, and there was a landing strip in the distance, and the space shuttle came and landed.
Mm.
And I was watching the space shuttle land with these three white beings on my right and another one on my left, and we were all watching the landing. And I pointed to the space shuttle and I said, "I've been on that." And of course, I have not been on the space shuttle. And then I noticed that this one white being had a little girl who had walked away from her and was standing on the edge of the water. And I was looking at the girl and then I was looking at the woman and I was like, "Aren't you afraid?" I didn't say anything, but I was like, "Aren't you afraid she's going to fall in the water?" And she was like very like not like responding. And suddenly the girl did fall into the water. And I got up and I jumped right into the water. And I'm looking down and I see her and she raises her hand up and I take her hand and I pull her out of the water and I hold her. And then I turn around and I see these four white beings and they had a message for me. And I don't frequently get messages, but what they said to me was, all you have to, the only thing you need to do is live your life. And it's been a question in my mind for the last couple years. What is my purpose? Is there something, should I be writing a book about all this stuff? I've tried to do that and I can't. It's not working. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing with this? Because like the movie, Close Encounters, I feel compelled to do something with this. I feel I've been given something and I need to do something with it. I need to tell people about it. And I keep asking them, what do you want me to do? And in this dream, they told me, all you have to do is just live your life. And I took that to mean that all I had to do was, make good choices and be kind to people around me and, just take care of the people around me, and love everyone around me. But I was definitely with them. It was one of those dreams that I remember very clearly. And when I woke up, I knew I'd been with them.
A friend of mine wrote a book called Pebbles in a Pond.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said reminded me, because we're pebbles in a pond and what we do spreads out. And if that pebble is kindness, that's what's going to spread.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. I like that image.
it's an
Thank you,
interesting
Kia.
conversation going on in the chat, and yeah, that everyone needs to survive and to live well is on this planet.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Catkins was talking about stuff that was on Alex Ferrari's channel. Wow.
Oh, yeah. I've seen
Any relationship to the family.
I always told that.
Greatest stars in the world.
Yeah, he's got a good show. He started out interviewing people that had near-death experiences, but he's kind of expanded his who he interviews.
Well, everything is so connected. How can you not expand?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that's just where he started, and then he found that everything was connected.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, Judy, as you were describing the shuttle and the runway and all that, it just, I have a memory from a few nights back of, I didn't see a shuttle, but I saw a craft and there was a runway, and I thought it doesn't need a runway, and there was water.
Wow.
And that's about all I can get. But you
Like-
kind of like broke my dream when you brought that up.
It resonated. So, well, it was like 2 or 3 nights ago I had this dream.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's strange.
Yeah.
See, I also believe that, like, what is it called when you when two atoms are together and then they're what is that called? Oh darn it, I'm blanking. So we're getting connected by speaking with each other and our consciousnesses coming together.
Right.
I think it's possible for people to kind of link up,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe even dream share.
Right.
Yes, that reminds me
Very
of
often.
that reminds me of Raven and her talking about dreams.
Yes. Yeah.
She
Oh, and
was,
the Robert Moss books. Yeah, if you're
Yes,
interested in dreams, he's a shaman. He's amazing.
that's what she says too.
Yeah.
someone today was recommending us to read the books of this French woman. I can't remember her name.
That's because you had a mental block.
Yeah, and she just
Quantum entanglement. That's what it is. Thank you, Catkins.
Oh, okay.
My brain. It's
I can't
age.
remember her name. She
Entanglement.
Mhm.
I can't remember. But she I went and checked her out on Amazon. She must have had, I couldn't even scroll down all the books she's written, but it's all been on this subject. And she's evidently a shaman, and she was wearing a lot of crystals, and she had something that looked like the Real and the Realians cult medal around on her chest, and I zoomed in on it to make sure it wasn't one of those. But
One of
I-
what? What were you saying? She had a
Yeah.
pendant that looked like what?
She had a huge pendant on her chest, and we've been watching the Netflix series about Rael and that one that he had, and we were afraid that she was part of that cult
it
or
was
something.
very similar. It was very
Yeah,
cult.
very, very.
Kind of backed me off a bit.
Oh, it's a TV show.
Yeah, Rael is, but the gal he's talking about is a writer.
Is a writer. Okay.
Yeah, she's a French writer, and she's got a bunch of degrees in art and stuff. But this guy was this French gentleman was in the 70s. He had a UFO encounter, and he basically built a cult around it, and took people's money, and they all had free love. Basically, it was swinging. And he also
pretended to clone babies. I mean,
yeah,
the things he did. We're not done with the series yet, but this guy's a monster.
It's really scary because it shows you, if one's not careful, how being involved in this subject, people get sucked in by common and cultists. I remember back, because it was 94 when Cahotac was very visible in the sky, the comet. And there was a group of people, I think down in San Diego, was it, that were formed a cult around this one guy, this older gentleman with white hair and these kind of striking eyes, and he got them all to kill themselves.
Yes, I remember that.
Now, that was during the 90s, and I had a website about my experiences, and I started getting emails about how does it feel to have blood on your hands, and threats. I had death threats and people saying, we're going to get you. You people are the worst thing in the world. You get people killed and all this stuff. And this just goes to show you that the public is not capable, without giving a shit, that there's a difference between cult people and people who are just trying to say something happened to me,
right,
real to me. Oh, it happened to you too, and was sharing this information. And I mean, they've labeled Whitley a cultist, and they try to tear him down.
Yeah, but a lot of these people, Steve, they get sucked in by a charismatic leader.
True.
And they're not actually experiencers. They're what we affectionately call wannabes.
Yes.
And so they want to follow this person that'll take them to another planet or whatever. But they're not experiencers. There's just poor people that are getting sucked in by this charismatic con man, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened there. Definitely.
Yes, Shelby, I did. Yeah, so it's a shame, that
Oh yeah,
that
Heaven's Gate. Yeah, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
it's a shame that they don't know the difference. And I mean that the emails were horrible. And it just freaked out my wife back then. And Whitley was getting him too, I believe. I can't remember for sure, but they tend to, oh, well, you're just like those nuts. It's like, no, we're not. If you actually paid attention to us, you realize we're nothing like them. But
And
they
that's
don't
why it's scary. That's why it's scary to come out.
You need to die.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of stuff I was getting. So
Yeah, no, it is scary.
yeah, and we still have that problem today. So I mean that's another reason it'd be nice to get this over with and let everybody know on the planet, hey, you're not alone. It is absolutely real. And go on and live your life and stop going after people who have had contact with them, because I think most of them I've met are all on the level, honest, and most of them don't want any public attention at all. They send in letters. They don't use their real names a lot of the times, and they want it to be anonymous, but they still want to share their story. So they have nothing to gain. They're not going to sell. They're not going to get on a TV show. Hollywood's not going to make a movie about them. So why do they bother? They bother because they want to share something amazing that they experienced, and that's probably the most important thing in human history, and it is.
Yeah.
Need to get that out wide and far to the public, so this kind of persecution based on no research or knowledge at all on their part stops.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's one of those things that, I mean, I've met many people now that believe that this is all possible, but they've never had any experiences. But
Yeah.
they've met a lot of people who are experiencers, and they believe in their credibility and their integrity. But there's a difference between believing and knowing. You can believe it,
Exactly.
when you experience it, you know it. It's like I don't believe in aliens. I experienced this. I'm calling it an alien encounter. I really don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
I experienced it. It's real for me. I can't say for anybody else but myself.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. What an intense hour, huh?
Yeah, an hour already? It felt like
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
We really got into it, and we didn't have a lot of people in here today, but trust me, a lot of people will see this, and I'm surprised sometimes with these live streams.
Oh, we got 1 thumbs up. That was good.
When I
I
go back
wanted
and
to
look at
say-
these live streams several days later, they'll be up well over 1,000 views or more.
Really? Wow, I should go look at them. I didn't realize we were getting that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
had
it'll
at the
increase
peak
over
it was
time.
like 40.
We're getting help. It'll increase over time. It's always a slow go, but YouTube tells us for the amount of time that we've been doing this, we are doing very, very well. And that
Hey, you haven't
and
done it
it
long.
takes months, a year to grow the community and the subscribers, and because we're really different than a lot of other people. It's mostly a community of people who have these experiences. It's not just UFO investigators or people that are interested in the subject.
Right.
A real core group of people who've had these experiences, and Whitley's been helping too. And I know, Whitley, you check in from time to time and watch these. Thank you very much for your help, because
Thank you, Catkins.
what did Catkins say?
Give us a like.
Oh, so I know we really have only been going strong since what December or January.
October.
Well, yeah, but we didn't have much going on back then. It was really after we got settled into this place after the flood that we really started cranking.
That was January.
Yeah, so it's going on 5 months now. Yeah, so it's
4.
good. But thanks to all of you, Judy, and everybody in the chat right now, and all your support. And when I say support, you're here supporting us. If it's not financially, it's certainly with moral support and sharing your stories, and it just all of it. It's incredible, and we're so thankful and grateful. We really are. So yeah, so Saturday night show.
Yeah, Friday we're still looking for someone. So
I go extra crazy, and don't throw rocks at me, but it's just my take on things, and then we'll get back to our normal programming after that.
what's that? What's normal?
Who knows?
Well, we're gonna get John Blitch on, and we're gonna get
Yvonne.
Yvonne-
oh
Yvonne's
yeah, Vaughn Smith is
Yvonne's story.
on camera and tell her story about her experiences, which she kept secret for years. And I remember back in the 90s being in the sport group, and one day she leveled with us that she had the experiences. She told us about this one experience while she was in the bathroom, which is a interesting place to have one. But she said it does not leave our group. And then when I asked her about last month, she says, "Oh no, I came out a long time ago about it. I came out of the closet and shared that. I didn't know that she had." So we're going to have her in the show, and she's going to not the live stream, but on film, and telling her story and talking about Ciro and how that got started. And then that same day, I'm going to shoot another interview story with her about the Coronado mass abduction that she wrote that book about. And I'm also going to add to that because I was there and I experienced some really amazing things, and the whole thing was an amazing experience from the time I got there till the time I left. So, not to mention the night that it all came down. So that's going to give us a few shows without me and with me kind of in there, floating over the Coronado. So.
Oh God, I can't spell.
What you can't spell?
No, I'm trying to tell Shelby she's going to love Yvonne, but I couldn't get it typed out.
Yeah, Yvonne's she's very good at what she does.
Is she still doing it?
Oh yeah,
gosh, yeah. And Zoom all over the world.
Yeah, she's doing it
Yeah.
worldwide. And Shelby's from the UK, and people. There are not a lot of people in the US coming forward. I know there's plenty of them out there that they're having these experiences, and they're just not sharing it, not talking about it, and I get it. And it's because of that other species.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could take a trip to England or Australia, we'd have plenty of people on camera.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But Yvonne's terrific, and she will not lead you. She will never, say, "Well, do you see?"
Shell's in Washington. She's not British.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good. Not even close.
Oh, she's in Washington.
No, but
Same time.
it's said that a lot of people who do the work that Yvonne do, that skeptics will say, "Well, they lead them." They'll say,
She
"Well,
doesn't.
back to this night, and okay, you're in your room, and do you see aliens?" I've never run into that. Not with Barbara Lamb, not with Yvonne Smith. What I know of the others ever. I mean, that's just not professional. It's not how you do things.
Not in my experience either.
Take me back to that evening or that day, and she'd have me recall what the room was like and my surroundings are like, and that would be it. And then, her hope is that she got you to that point at that particular time, that then it would come out from you, and it does.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's been put into you not to talk about it on some level by them, and so you have to this can be a struggle to get past that block, but you can do it. So I remember the first time that I did hypnosis, I felt that it was blocked. I did see the being looking at me underneath the table, and then I couldn't get beyond that, and I know there was more. But when I did other sessions with her and became more relaxed, more came out. So have you done any of that, Judy?
Yeah, I worked with Lori McDonald. She's in California, and we Skyped. And she would just say, go back to this time, and we would discuss before, the time that I was going to focus on, and then she would get me to that point, and she would just say, well, look over here. What do you see? There was no leading at all. She was very good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how they work in crime cases and everything else. So
I had a really interesting thing happen during one of my hypnosis sessions with her, and she took a screenshot of it. But I was leaning back, and I was in a place, in a moment with them on a ship, and she said that all of a sudden this orange light came next to me, and that like there was a face in it. And she took a screenshot of it. I have it. I could send it to you, actually, if you want to see it on email. I'll send it to you. You could put it up.
Cool.
But it's a profile, and to tell you the truth, it looks like my dad's profile, and he passed in 2015, and this was like 2 years ago now that this happened. And I figure if he is around me. Actually, I'm sitting in the room where he passed. I'm in my living room, and I think he's always with me. But it was very interesting. She took a picture of this orange light next to me that entered the room, and there was no like window right across from me. I had dormer windows, and I was in a corner, and there was just no way that it could have been the setting sun or anything. It was like mid-morning, so interesting things happen during those sessions. I was asking about Yvonne because I'm kind of thinking about doing it again. I wondered if she was on the East Coast, but then again, you can do it on Skype. But I kind of want to try to do it in person, I think. Is she on the
she's here. She's here.
She's in California?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm in New York State.
I know.
I know you know. Yeah. So, no, that's okay.
Well,
Anyway.
I'm going to sign off. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Maybe me too.
Yes, absolutely.
Anytime you want me.
Okay.
Always.
We'll come get you tonight.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you from the bottom of our hearts.
Yes.
Soon.